Hi guys, and welcome to a new video. We are still ambiguous about the beginning of the Vedic period and the Hindu civilization. Some historians, especially the academic historians like Romila Thapar, claim that the Vedic culture is actually a result of the Aryan migration, transfer of culture from Central Asia. Some other kind of historians, especially the right-wing historians, claim that the Hindu civilization or the Vedic period is actually rooted in the Indus Valley Civilization. That is, the Indus Valley Civilization eventually transformed into the Vedic period or the Hindu civilization that we see today. Now, yet others believe that the Hindu civilization is actually an amalgamation, a combination of both Indus Valley Civilization and the Aryan migration that happened after the decline of Indus Valley Civilization. So in this video, we will look at what Rig Veda and the Vedic scriptures say about the beginning of Vedic period. I have previously made a video on the Aryan migration theory and how it's related to the Vedic period and the beginning of the Hindu culture. So if you haven't seen it yet, please check it out. The link is shared here. Rig Veda is actually the oldest of the Vedas, and it's composed in an ancient form of Sanskrit about 1500 BCE. It includes 10 mandalas with 1028 hymns. As I told you before, the eminent historians or the academic historians actually believe and claim that the Rig Veda came from Central Asia through the Aryan migration or the steppe migration as it is called today. The Vedic beliefs and practices of the pre-classical era were closely related to the hypothesized Proto-Indo-European religion and the Indo-Aryan religion. Funeral practice sacrifices from Sindasha culture show close parallel to the sacrificial funeral rites of the Rig Veda. It was a syncretic mixture of old Central Asian and the new Indo-European elements, which borrowed distinctive religious practices and beliefs from BMAC culture, including god Indra and the ritual drink Soma. It basically means that a lot of practices and beliefs in the Rig Veda has close parallels in the religious practices of Indo-Iranians and Indo-Europeans. Therefore, the Rig Veda could have come from that region. But if we look at the Rig Veda, it does not speak about any migration or about Central Asia or any migration from Central Asia, though it clearly uses the word Arya. So in Rig Veda, it mainly deals with a region called Saptasindhu or the land of 7 rivers. It is basically a region in today's Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan and so on, and it is claimed to be the original homeland of the Bharat tribes that essentially created the first major kingdom or empire in the Indian subcontinent that we know of. The name Bharat that we ascribe to our country actually came from this Bharat tribe. People who inhabited the Saptasindhu or the people who emerged as the most powerful force in the Saptasindhu eventually expanded to the Yamuna basin and started the Vedic period of the Hindu civilization. Right-wing historians like Sanjeev Sanyal claims that the Bharatas could be the descendants of the Harappan civilization because they share the same geographical boundaries. In order to claim if they were from the Harappan civilization or if they migrated from Central Asia, we need more proof on who these people really were. The Battle of 10 Tribes or the Battle of 10 Kings is the first ever documented war in the ancient Indian history, and it is also attributed to the beginning of the Vedic period. According to Rig Veda, it took place on the banks of river Ravi, called as river Parshini. The king of the Bharata tribes Sudas was opposed by a confederate of 10 kings. The actual reason behind this conflict is unknown, but different sources say different things. Some people claim that it was because of the expansionist and attitude of King Sudas, which made all these tribes come together to fight against him. Other sources claim that the Bharata tribes were being threatened by all of these kings. The Bharatas lived around the upper regions of the river Saraswati, while the Purus, their western neighbors, lived along the lower regions of Saraswati. The division of waters of Ravi could have been the reason for the war. The confederates of tribes tried to inundate the Bharatas by opening the embankments of Ravi, yet Sudas emerged victorious in the Battle of 10 Kings. The Bharatas and the Purus emerged into a new tribe, the Kuru, after the war. The Battle of 10 Kings actually comprises of two different battles: the Parashuni River battle that we just talked about and the Yamuna River battle. So the Kuru Kingdom compiled the Rig Veda. They also compiled all the Hindu beliefs and practices. Obviously, the Kuru Kingdom is the basis of the epic Mahabharata, which was compiled in 3rd century BCE. Eminent historians believe that the terms Arya and Dasas in Rigveda and other Vedic scriptures refer to the two races. Arya are more advanced and powerful migrants from Central Asia, and Dasas, the inferior indigenous race, and it signifies the conflicts between them. But as we saw already, the theory of Aryan migration as the origin of Hindu civilization does not really stand, because the Kuru Kingdom began the Vedic period, and the historical inquiry into the Kuru Kingdom is actually still in its very early stages. Aryas in the Vedic scriptures are considered as noble men, and an Arya in Sanskrit means a good, worthy family man who respects the traditions of his country, a good housekeeper, and a man who duly performs the rites of yajna. Dasas, on the other hand, are described as enemies or servants or barbarians or demons. They are also referred to as the servants of God. They were mostly considered as people who did not perform the Vedic rites. In spite of the eminent historians claiming that this is actually the evidence of a race war or a race conflict, historians do not have a consensus on what these terms actually mean. Asko Parpola connect the Dasas and the Dasyus to the Iranian tribes the He and the Hu, and believe that Dasas and Dasyus were early Indo-Aryan migrants who arrived into the subcontinent before the Vedic Aryans. He says that Dasa could be related to ancient Iranian and Proto-Saka word Daha, which means man. This is contrasted with Arya, the word man used by and of Indo-Aryan people from Central Asia. Now, Ambedkar claims that different communities of Aryas were not only different but opposed and inimical to each other. Ambedkar has also claimed that Dasas were Iranians. They could also stand for people in the east of the Caspian Sea, where there is a place called Dahistan. So therefore, there is no evidence whatsoever that Dasas were indigenous people who were inferior to Arya. So Das is a great example for that, mainly because there is a Das right in the middle of the name Sudas. Dasyu is also a term that could be applied to Vedic kings. In the Battle of 10 Kings, in the Rigveda, the king Sudas calls his enemies Dasyus, which included Vedic people like the Anus, Druhyus, Turvashas, and even the Purus. So basically, Aryas and Dasas could be different communities or a different cultural group. From all this evidence, one thing is for clear: these are not racial entities in the way that we understand race in modern times. It's definitely more complicated than that. But eminent historians or academic historians still push the idea that Aryas and Dasas are racial division, racial inequalities that existed in Vedic period, which then became caste system later on in history. Obviously, that has no historical backing. That's all for this video. Please tell me in the comment section what you think about it. And if you didn't get to check out the previous video I made on Aryan migration, please go and check it out. My first book, a novel, came out recently. I will share the book trailer here. If you find it interesting, please go and check it out. It's available on Amazon and Flipkart. The links are given in the description. Share this video with others and follow me on my Instagram and Facebook pages. Thank you and have a great time.